everybody. Welcome back to Ty and That Guy. My name is Wes Chatham, and I'm here with my good buddy, Franck.
Today we're talking about episode 504, Gaugamela. This one is written by Dan Nowak and directed by Nick Gomez.
The super talented Dan Nowak.
I mean, he's all right.
Man, I love this episode. We just watched it to get ready for this, prepare for this. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, this is one of my favorites of the season, and in keeping with our Expanse tradition, it is named after a thing only 7 people in the audience will know, which just goes to show how pretentious we all are here in the writing team.
And what is that?
Gaugamela?
I don't know what that is.
Right, and neither will pretty much everyone else who watches the show. Yeah, no, it was a famous battle. Alexander the Great defeated the Persian Empire when he was outnumbered 10-1 on the field of Gaugamela. And, obviously a reference to Marco and his defeat of the inner planets in spite of his greatly inferior forces.
What I was going to ask you, I wanted to ask you this when I was watching this, and Shohreh, luckily we have her as a guest tonight that's going to be coming on the show, but I want to ask you as the author and kind of about her point of view. Coming into this season, we always have kind of seen her in a place of power, and now she is not in the position that we're used to seeing her in. And I want to ask you, what is the mindset? Why do you think that she's hanging on to this political life now that she is not where she used to be, even to the strain of her family?
Yeah, I mean, I that's actually a really good question. It's the question we keep asking in the show. Why is she hanging on to it? I think the character themselves would say they're not entirely sure why they're clinging on to it, why it's so important. I do think, though, that the bottom line is that Avasarala believes that she has one last really important thing to do. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't want to leave before she finishes that last thing. And I don't even know if she'd be able to explain exactly what the thing is. But she has this sense, we played her as a lifetime politician, as somebody who's been in the halls of power for, decades. And she just has this sense that something important is happening, something important is building, and no one else is really paying attention to it. And if she stops paying attention to it, everybody's going to get blindsided. And so she's just clinging on by her fingernails.
And what I think is fascinating about this episode specifically, and it's so well written, and it's such a fascinating, dramatic situation, but also horrifying, is the fact that she was this person in a place of power, and now she is not in that place. But she knows, and she knows that there is an attack, that Marco is attacking the planets, and people are dying. Millions of people are dying, and there's more rocks coming, and nobody will listen to her. Nobody return her calls. And she is somebody that, since we've known her through the series, through the book series, everybody listens to her. In this one moment, she cannot be heard. She cannot, in a time when millions and millions of people are going to die.
Yeah, well, and we show her getting sidelined. In the previous season, we show that we play Avasarala as something of like the old school conservative. In the classical sense of that term, that she's very sort of in the beginning of the show, in the season 1, she starts out very isolationist. Earth must come first. We take care of our own first. And she grows over the course of the series, and her point of view expands, but she still has that sort of like, take everything slow, be very careful, be very methodical. When the rings open up, she's the one saying, guys, let's not just go rushing in there. We don't know what's in there. Let's take it slow. And in the current setup of the system, that's a very unpopular point of view. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to get people to agree that they shouldn't have the things that they want. Out of a sense of caution. People don't like that argument. And because she keeps consistently making that argument, she gets pushed out. And pushed out to the point where, she almost becomes a pariah politically. Everybody's trying to distance themselves from her. Everybody's trying to attach themselves to the new power structure, with the Ring Gates and Nancy Gao and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's you reach a certain point where people remaining your friend is bad for their career, which is the point she gets to. It's really hard to stay involved because everybody who talks to you believes that they are damaging their career by doing so, and people tend to be very short-sighted when it comes to that stuff.
And is there a sense that her identity is wrapped up in this position, in this job, and this is kind of how she defines herself and kind of how she orients the world around her, and walking away from that is just something that she's not ready to do yet?
I mean, obviously that's a huge part of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Avasarala would have a hard time explaining who she is absent the political power. Obviously she has a husband, she has children, she has grandchildren, and we've seen her with those people. But that's never been the primary focus of her life. That's never been the thing that she spends, her waking hours on, obsessing over. It's always been the political stuff. So when that's taken away from you, you find yourself in a position where you have to redefine yourself now, and that's very tricky for people to do.
And just jumping over to Naomi's storyline, in this episode, she gets essentially kidnapped by Philip. And why did he make that decision at the end? I'm curious, because it wasn't like Marco ordered that. And at the end, and there was a great scene between them when they saw each other for the first time, and you see his anger and resentment towards her, but maybe there's still a deep longing of a connection and needing her, and that's ultimately why he kidnapped her at the end. Is that your thinking? And
yeah, I mean, that certainly would be a huge part of it. Trying to, if you imagine something all your life and then are confronted with the reality of that thing, it's a pretty powerful moment. He's had the idea of what a mother is all his life, and he's had these stories from his father about who his mother is, but now he's confronted with the physical reality of that. That's got to be a very powerful moment. But the question of why he takes her is one that we continue exploring throughout the entire season. I don't even think he would be able to explain it. But it comes up over and over again. Why did you do this? His father confronts him about it. His mother confronts him about it. His friends in the Free Navy talk about it. It's clearly an incredibly impulsive decision in the spur of the moment. And he spends the rest of the season trying to sort out his feelings about why he did it.
And I think Marco fully understands why he did it. And I thought that was a really interesting moment when Marco says, I guess he's still a boy who needs his mommy. And he knew just how to twist the knife. And it really registered in Philip in that moment. And
yeah, they have a bit of a, I would say, dysfunctional father-son relationship.
Yeah. I mean, Philip is Marco is a master manipulator.
Yeah.
And how he plays them two against each other psychologically. And you really, what I love about this show is the backstory has lived in Naomi's performance and how she talks about Marco or how she tries to suppress those memories. So when you see him, we've already got a sense of who he is just by her behavior and just how he's mentioned in conversations, which I've really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed the Marco storyline in that place.
Keon really sort of just like wrapped himself up in that blanket of arrogance and manipulative approach to everything, and really, I mean, brings that version of Marco to life for sure. When you first see him and you see him actually talking and seeing him in a position of power and dealing with Philip, all of that subtle backstory that Dominique was doing about who and what Marco is, he makes her right. He makes every word she said true just by the way he plays it.
Well, let's bring our guest on and we'll talk all together about the situation.
We've got Shohreh Aghdashloo, the lovely and wonderful Shohreh Aghdashloo, playing Chrisjen Avasarala, and Dan Nowak, executive producer on the show, and the only other writer other than Daniel and I who has been on the show since the very first episode.
Yay, the leaner and meaner Dan Nowak. He's been jazzercising during the COVID lockdown. He looks extra handsome on the camera today.
I'm pretty sure he's just that guy from The Boys.
Yeah, I mean, he's busy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Good to see Dan. Good to see Shohreh. So I'm really curious. Dan, you wrote 503 and you wrote 504 this season. And I'm curious about the writing room process. How do you guys go about deciding who's writing what episodes? And if it's something that you choose, what about 503 and 504 interested you that you wanted to write those episodes?
I mean, basically, Narain told me you're writing 503 and 504. I mean, there wasn't really choice was not involved at all, but I was extremely happy to. I mean, usually he writes the first, Ty writes the second, and then it kind of goes from there. I mean, generally speaking. So no, and I was just happy I got to dole out some consequences and do some cool stuff with 3 and 4. And 4 is just kind of got so much going on and so much tension. It was just really fun to put it all together and just kind of put all of our characters through a meat grinder in a way.
So in terms of process, Narain now says you're doing 503 and 504. How do you start to wrap your mind around developing and what needs to be accomplished dramatically within that time frame of those episodes?
I mean, it's throughout just the writer's room process for the whole like year. I mean, it's such a collaborative effort where we have all 10 episodes kind of boarded out and generalized, and we know where most of them begin, and we definitely know where they end. So we knew the endings of 3 and 4, what was going to happen. Because I mean, like 4, Marco, he's only shown up in flashbacks throughout the season. This is his first appearance throughout the whole year, and it was just kind of like saving it for that. So yeah, I mean, just the process though generally is like we all get together, we break the stories, and then everybody kind of goes off and writes their episodes that they're assigned, but everybody has a hand in every episode, which is nice. And it's all of us make a great show together. I mean, my name's on the episode, but it's really all of us doing it. And my name is on other episodes, but I know I've contributed to those too. So it's a great team effort.
Shohreh, one of my favorite stories about you, the first time I met you, and you've been the oracle, and you've really understood the show and understood the potential of what the show could be. But I remember you and the first time I met you and I said hello, and you and I were touring the sets and we're walking around and you're walking in front of me and I was behind you, and we probably said 2 years or whatever. And you turned around to me and you go, "This show, 6 years minimum." And then you turn around and walk back. And I said, "What?" And I was like, "Shohreh, what do you mean?" You go, No. Like, I read the script. I know the books, these sets, the amount of time they're putting into it. 6 years. And my God, you were so right. You were so right. And I remember even, during the time when it looked like we weren't going to go further, you never lost. You always knew, but your instincts were always there.
I swear to God. It was like I had an epiphany when we were touring the set. I'm looking at the set and something is telling me that minimum of 5 or 6. And then I turned to you, and we didn't know each other that well.
Did you say 5 or 6 years?
I said 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Wow.
I turned to you and I said, minimum 5 or 6 years. But I wish I had a camera with me and I could have taken a picture of your face. You were like, "Excuse me, what are you talking about?" We just started touring the set. But every time I think about that day, I feel so happy. I think apart from, I've been working 48 years now. I've seen stories who wanted to be told, no matter what, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, finally they get to be told. They get to be transferred to the silver screen. I guess this was one of them, because it was talking to us when we were touring the set. Like the shuttle or all the gadgets and stuff. It was like they were talking to us. They were telling us, come to me. You're going to stay with me for a couple of years. I'm going to take care of you." That kind of a feeling. Homely, friendly, like your parents' home.
Unfortunately, we keep blowing all of our sets up.
So I was talking to Ty earlier because we're focused on 504 right now, and I was talking about what a fascinating, horrifying situation that Avasarala is in this episode, particularly where she knows that Marco is attacking Earth. There's already one rock that hit, and millions of people are dying. There's more rocks coming, and she has no allies, but this is also somebody who's been the smartest, most powerful person in the room. And this is how we've known your character throughout. What is like, in terms of your process, what is your mindset in this situation?
Well, I should say that Avasarala is not entirely unfamiliar with this situation. She's been around the block a couple of times. Apart from that, she's been born into a political family. She's studied politics. I never forget the day I was reading her introduction in the book 2 that said that she speaks 10 languages. She's extremely educated. Her knowledge exceeds her ranks. She's been around quite enough to understand that this shall pass too, and I need to do the right thing here. It's very interesting. In real life, I separate myself from Shohreh Aghdashloo. I keep saying that I'm taking good care of her. She's now going to play in this movie. I don't feel like we are one. But in Avasarala's case, I am 100% sure that long ago she became one with her character and her duty. She's all about, the planet Earth and her duty and humankind's and species' duty towards Mother Earth. And I have a feeling that even when she takes off her boots, she still feels like she's wearing them. She feels the weight of the world on her shoulder.
You definitely play her that way as somebody who she has one interest, and that is the thing that rules her life, and it is public service. It is the cause of protecting Earth, and as the show goes on, it expands out to protecting more and more of humanity. But yeah, that definitely comes across as her focus.
She makes her mistakes, which may make people to believe that, oh, maybe she's not a hero, but we're all entitled to make our mistakes. We're human beings.
But you say that, you've been in this position, your character's been in this position many, many times, but has she ever been in the position when she's not listened to and can't get anybody on the phone? Because I find that really interesting, specifically about this episode, is how she's dealing with not being number one.
Yeah, she's maneuvering around. Not that she's not taking it, not that she's not happy about it. For so many years, people used to understand her. And now it looks like she's speaking another language, not even their language. But she knows what's going on.
Wes is never going to want to talk about himself or the stuff that he does. So Dan, let's you and I talk about the Amos and Clarissa stuff in 4, which is where we really first start to get some nice moments between the two of them.
I don't remember that stuff. Who's that actor who plays that Amos guy? Yeah.
Wes Chatham.
He's such a nice fella.
Yeah. So let's talk about because you got to write really, I think, the first big moments, the first real scenes between Clarissa and Amos, right?
Yeah, we haven't seen Clarissa since, what is it, the beginning of season 4?
Yeah, she's on a video call in 401. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was. I really like that scene because it's the quiet scene before everything literally breaks and goes to hell. But it's such a great character moment for Amos because, like, in these things that like when you guys were talking about like Marco and Philip and things like you can't describe that you do and stuff like that. That's Amos kind of going to see Clarissa. He feels this urge to try to help someone like he was helped, like we showed in the Churn with Lydia, and that like he had somebody to help her, and he feels like Clarissa needs that kind of person, and he can be that. And this is the first time really that he's ever been in that position, and so he's like subconsciously taken there. And I don't know what I can do, but I feel like I need to go here, and I feel like I can offer her something, and I can't exactly specify what that is, but I need to do this.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that exact thing because talking about Philip and his decision to take his mother, I really feel like in that moment, Amos is sort of in the same boat where he's making an impulsive decision that if you asked him to explain his reasoning, I don't think he would be able to explain it. It's just he senses that there's something he can do, and he's fumbling his way toward it when he goes there.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way he was trying to write it. And Wes did a great job, like we talked about it beforehand, and pulling it off. Where she asked him, I believe the question was like, "Are you here to save me?" And he kind of doesn't. How do you verbalize that? How do you put that into words? Because he didn't really think about it. He just felt compelled and drawn to come here. So, like, I think so, but I don't know.
What's interesting, and you know, Dan, I think what you did such a great job with writing that scene when I'm first in that cell is, you know, as I was preparing, because I knew that this was coming, and I know in season 3 we transported her back to Earth, so we spent a good 3 or 4 months together, and there was something about her that really drew Amos in, that he really connected to her, but it was a subconscious pull. He didn't really explore what that was, and it was the moment when he was sitting on that rock looking over the water, and he remembers that moment in Baltimore when Lydia is saying, is, you know, basically what he says to Nadine is, this world is messed up and it can really mess you up. And when you get messed up and your wires are all messed up and you're living out of this primal emotion of rage and revenge, and you don't have any guidance, you will become a part of that evil that has done this to you. And so he has that moment of, oh, Lydia did this for me. Maybe this is what's drawing me to Nadine and Clarissa, and maybe I can be that for her. I don't know how. I don't really know what I'm doing. I just feel like maybe this is something Lydia would want me to do. I feel like this is the right thing. And it was written, and it, you know, what I really loved about it is that voice of not like knowing I'm supposed to be here, but I don't really know why. And I'm trying to help you and I don't know why. And so it's the pacing. If you watch it, the pacing is fumbling and kind of slow and kind of clumsily. And then until he kind of locks in, is like, the world is messed up. It messed you up. And this is why I'm here. Then the rock drops. And then it's, you know, and right in the middle of saying, then it's about survival. And that's when Amos clicks in. I know how to survive. So this was uncomfortable. I didn't know what this is, but I know how to fucking survive. And this is where we're going. And goddamn it, I know how to help you in this situation. I know how to get you out of here.
That's actually really funny that Amos only becomes comfortable when the world starts ending, because now he's like, oh, okay, I know what to do with this. Yeah, the world's great. I'm ready. But I was having this personal and emotional conversation. I have no clue how to do that.
And Dan, what I love, and what, you know, in tying, what I love too is that the world is crumbling all around him, and Amos understands that all normal social roles and everything, all those are out the window when he's saying you need to open this door to the guard, and she's still hanging on to the old structure. Well, I can't do this. This is against the rules, and you're a prisoner, and that. And they come out there and everybody's still living in the structure. And it's like, that's gone, guys. It's the churn. Like, the structure does not exist. And me, and I understand what this is. And it's every man for himself. And it's me and Clarissa for ourselves.
I have a question for you, Wes. The way you pay, attention to Clarissa tells me that when Amos was young, was a child, he used to take care of injured birds. He has that kind of heart full of love. This killing machine. How do you feel about this kind of attention?
Well, I think that if that was the case, that's so suppressed and kind of dead within him that it's not really there. Like, one of the things that I think is really interesting, I watched this Mike Tyson documentary, and you see his connection in his relationship to he raises birds on the roof, pigeons, and he's so gentle and so loving to these pigeons, but he rips people's heads off in the ring. And that's so fascinating to me. So I do think that if somebody can get in touch with that, like Naomi did, that like Lydia did, or like Clarissa is doing now, they do see a little bit of that humanity that was broken inside of him when he was younger. And to me, you know, one of the things that, you know, the reason Ty and I are doing this now, whatever, is because this story is endlessly, and these characters are endlessly fascinating to us. And, you know, Amos is one of the most interesting characters I've ever had the privilege to play. And for, you know, details and specifics like that. And we're saying that. Hey, I'm curious, what does Chrissy think about Amos? And, you know, the scene when I come into your office, was that 504 or was that 503? That was 503.
That was 502.
Oh, well, we'll talk about it anyway. So when I come into the office and you make me a drink, and Amos has this strong flirty attraction, and he talks to you in a way that nobody talks to you. What is? I'm curious to what Avasarala's point of view of Amos is.
Well, it's really interesting because Avasarala has seen qualities in Amos that maybe even Amos is not aware of it. And she's dying to have this young man on her side. And she loves his guts, his spontaneity, and obviously she's a woman. She also has a crush on him. I'm sure she has a crush on him. You know, it's how could she not? I mean, honestly, we're all human beings.
Shohreh, how did you first hear about The Expanse?
It was really interesting. I met with Mark and Hawk Ostby, Mark Ferguson, in Palm Springs Film Festival years before. Hawk called me from Yellowstones and told me that he's taking a vacation with his family. Mark is at NBC, and they're wondering if these two have my consent to play this role. And then he told me, and I said, which role? And he said, do you remember we told you we were going to write for you? Well, we have found great materials for you. And he knew that I had to read my scripts beforehand, but he said, can you trust me if I tell you the plot? And I said, by all means, I love your penmanship. Iron Man, Children of Men, by all means, at your disposal. So he told me the story. I loved it. And he said, Mark is waiting now. I need to let him know.
And Dan, you know, it's funny because you've been with us from the beginning, and I remember seeing you kind of on set and talking to you and just having a really, you know, good time with you. I always thought you were really funny. But what's interesting is whenever we're reading your scripts, doing it, there's always a sense of humor that's so specific to that character that comes through. You have this great comedic timing, and some of the most fun I've had with scenes are scenes that you've written, because there's a way that the comedy plays out, but it's so honest and true to the characters that they're there. Is that just your natural sense of humor, and you like to?
I mean, I think so. I mean, I generally like to, you know, joke around, be sarcastic, stuff like that. So, I mean, it brings a levity to some seriousness. And I don't know. I mean, like, I always like the gallows humor of stuff and finding funny moments. I mean, that's the kind of stuff I like, where you can kind of bounce back between being profound one moment and then funny the next, and then, oh my God, this is violent. And you just get, if you can make it work together and mesh it all together, I think it's really fun and interesting. But yeah, I mean, I try to bring some humor to, I mean, your character is really fun to write for. I mean, it's like Amos doesn't make jokes, but his bluntness is what like comes through. Like, he'll just say things that are just so inappropriate, but it's true. And it's hilarious.
And you and Ty have like the same sense of humor, and Amos is essentially Ty's id. I mean, that's that comes from that. So the more I get to know Ty, the more I understand Amos in a lot of ways. But
to add to what Dan said, in the writer's room, you know, everything's a collaboration. He was right about that. But the moments that Dan and I are always allies in the room, where we're always allied, is whenever we're trying to preserve a funny moment that Narain wants to cut. we always wind up, it's the two of us against Narain when Dan or I has written or Daniel has written a humorous moment or humorous line, and Narain for whatever reason wants to cut it, and it can be for a variety of reasons. But yeah, that's when it's always the two of us fighting the room, is trying to preserve those funny moments.
You know what's interesting though is when we're all together, when both of you guys are on set and we're making each other laugh, a lot of the things that we're doing is just to make each other laugh And then, you know, whoever the dolt in the room is usually comes and they cut it out or we don't get to do it. But there's so many great lines that we had when we were able to do that, you know. And speaking of comedic timing, like Shohreh and Avasarala just cracks me up. And when she was the scene with you finding the help, the guy that works, the chef, and getting him, you know, and you being frustrated and like it was just, you know, you fattened me up with macaroni.
Exactly. I love the fact that when I call her with urgency, you know, she goes, "Madam, you have called the chef." And I was sort of like, I know who the fuck I called.
Hey, Dan, tell the story about who the chef is. Because there's an Easter egg hidden in that chef.
Oh, Chef Casey, because it's Casey Ryback from Under Siege. That's what we named it after, because you and I love to throw 80s references in, or any kind of reference. Oh, yeah, that's what that was, because, you know.
Chef Casey.
What was that scene with her calling the chef? Was that in the book?
No, it was, we needed her to be able to contact, because she couldn't get hold of Nancy Gao, because everybody was basically like, she's dead to us. She's being crazy. She's Chicken Little waiting for the sky to fall, or saying that, like, and how can she get into communication with somebody on the plane? And it used to be her plane. So it generally has the same staff. So, oh yeah, I'll just call somebody that I know on the plane and just yell at them to go give their phone to Nancy Gao.
Yeah, and to give Dan credit, as I recall, you know, because breaking the episodes is a collaborative effort. There's, you know, a bunch of people working on it, but I believe that was your pitch to do that, to get her.
It was just trying to get somebody like what's the clever or something clever Avasarala can do, like, and it's like, oh, these people who work on these planes, they just do that for a living. So she would know them after being on that plane for years. So it was just, hopefully, I think it worked.
Yeah, it was a really good solve for that problem. It was a really clever solve, I thought.
Well, guys, this has been awesome, and I loved talking to you guys, and I love this episode, and hopefully we'll all get together again and do it soon.
Thank you so much, Wes.
Thanks, Wes. Thanks, Ty.
In the meantime, be sure to like and subscribe here. Push buttons, like, subscribe here. That's where they're going to put it. This was fun. Ty, would you want to say anything before we sign off?
No, just thanks to both of you for spending your time with us. I know it's a giant waste of half an hour, but for you guys, both of you have so much more important things to be doing, but Wes and I appreciate it.
And by the way, there was so many good stories to tell about Dan, but none of them are appropriate, so I had to hold my tongue.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.